Welcome, everyone. Today is August 13th, 2020. I'm Mike.
And I'm Brian.
And this is what got our attention. So we're going to start off with what we've been playing this week. I can say that I've been playing a little bit more Fall Guys. Obviously, Fall Guys we checked out before we talked about it, and it's a pretty fun, addictive game. And I can say that I'm not going to try to brag or anything.
Wait. I know. I heard you got an important announcement about Fall Guys. That you did well, apparently.
Yeah. I'm not trying to brag, but I definitely won my first game. I did get the crown, so that was nice. Obviously, of course, I wasn't streaming and I wasn't doing anything like that to have any proof other than somebody else playing with me. But I did win, and I got the crown, and it was pretty neat. And I can say a little bit of that.
I got proof for you.
Oh yeah.
When the Rona economy settles down, and we can physically get back together, I will give you the Fall Guys crown.
I don't know if I like the way this is going.
No, I got one from PAX East.
Oh, nice.
A crown.
Right. Okay.
This is Fall Guys on it.
That's
I will give you my crown.
That's awesome. Well, I will be expecting that. The other thing I've been playing this week is we actually played for our game of the moment on Tuesday night. We played The Forest, which was super exciting for me. I've played I think it's almost 100 hours of The Forest. It was early access. This game's been released now, so it's definitely a thing that you can go buy at the Steam store. And it was really fun for me to be able to introduce this because Phoennix Nova or Brian had never played it before, and that was fun.
Not just never played it before. I had already seen it when I had gone through my Steam queue, and I had set ignore on it because I was like, oh, this is definitely a Xycia game. I was like, ignore, and then I forgot to tell you about it.
Well, luckily I'd already played it before.
By the way, trying to get to a game and purchase it when you've set it as ignore in Steam is not always easy. It really tries to not take you to that store page.
That's funny.
But I don't think I'd play it by myself. We played it on Game of the Moment, which we do every Tuesday about I think it was 8:30 or 9.
It's usually about 9. It's roughly 9. I mean, it's 9, we play a game till whenever,
Eastern.
Till we just
9 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday. We stream that out from both of our channels, the Game of the Moment. And it's not something I play by myself, but it was fun playing with the three of us because Secret Asian Man decided to join us. We thought he was hallucinating when he saw a plane in the sky.
Right.
That none of us could see.
There were some issues with the game. And I mean, don't get me wrong, the game... Our Game of the Moment is supposed to be like kind of like a light review as we play through a game, and whether it could be early access or not. We've played games like the Minecraft Dungeons in the past. We've played Grounded. It just came out on Xbox Pass. I think they had it, and some other things like that. And it's really just a light review to see where the game's at, where it's going, and how we feel about it. And
it certainly was released for those people that were playing on keyboard and mouse.
Yeah,
it was certainly like early alpha for anybody who is trying to play with controller.
Well, they did say that in the Steam store. It said partial controller support. Okay.
Yeah, it's partial, all right. There's literally things you cannot do with the controller, which is a bummer because, just the normal movement and everything was really smooth with the controller. It felt real good, but I couldn't. When I switched to keyboard and mouse, it was fine.
Yeah.
It was not a big deal.
Like I said, I've put a lot of hours into the game. I've played with a lot of friends. We've had our own dedicated server and stuff. There's a light campaign that you can kind of story mode that you can kind of go through, and they've been building that from a while now. And then luckily there's still that building aspect, that group, everybody's, basically you can lay down a blueprint, kind of like Grounded if you played that yet. Lay down the blueprint, and then everybody can kind of donate to the cause, like whatever he needs. And it shows at the bottom.
I love that type of building.
Yeah, and it shows at the bottom what's left.
Amazing. It's been amazing seeing some of the games do that, where it's like somebody puts down what the structure is going to be, and then everybody can just bring components to it and contribute to building to it. I've only seen it in those two games, really, And that's been a great mechanic.
Yeah.
Another great mechanic, or at least great fun thing to do in the forest is, find those cave openings, usually a hole in the ground with a rope going down. And then your friend convinces you to go down there and you've got all your best equipment and you go down there. It's perfectly pitch black and you just die instantly.
Yeah, that I guess that could be from me. I don't know who he's talking about, but yeah, I mean, like I said, I've played the game a while, so I kind of knew the spots to go to. But I was trying to let you play a little bit to understand and appreciate the game, and that was good. The other thing that apparently they have a lot of, so we're talking about the early access part. So there's a lot of things that are still early access, right? There's things that just haven't been fixed. And I feel like now the game's released, they're not going to fix these things. So one of the basic things you notice at the beginning, I don't know.
Depends on sales.
It's been like this for a while.
Depends on sales.
Okay. One of the initial things was like things spawning in and out. So like luggage that you get, like there's luggage that's how you get some of the crafting items. And some of those will just pop in and out of existence. And depending how far away you get from them, they just like give you more material. So that's kind of nice.
Not just give you more materials. I'd be like, there was this luggage that was right off the beach with these sharks that were there, and someone had cut the head off of a shark, so that scared me.
We hung it up on our cabin too. We built a cabin and stuck it up on the wall.
But there was these pieces of luggage out on the beach, and we looted all those pieces of luggage, and we went back to cabin, and we're going to the forest, and we're doing stuff. We're cutting down trees, timber. There's a song about that somewhere. Pitbull. And then I'm like walking back to the cabin, and all of us, so people who play a lot of games, especially first-person games, are used to the concept of texture pop-in, which there's only so much memory, whether it's in, the video card or the computer itself, and it has to load these objects from disk as you get closer, and it's never fast enough. So all of a sudden, it's still kind of off in the distance, but all of a sudden this like object appears or this texture appears. And so I'm used to that. But this piece of luggage, it didn't just pop in. It popped in at one section of the screen, and then it skittered across the ground to where it was supposed to be. And it like moved like 30, 40 feet, like sliding. And I was like, oh my God, there's rabbits over there or something. I'm like, no, it's luggage sliding across the ground. Go over there. Oh, I can loot from it again.
Yeah, not to mention we're trying to survive and we're trying to eat like, rabbits and lizards and things that we can find. The other part that I thought was interesting is that apparently Phoenix Nova is not very good at fire awareness. And most people, as you know, growing up, you're always taught if you're on fire, you should stop, drop, and roll. And apparently he never got that memo.
Now, to be perfectly clear, someone yelled out, oh my God, they're right behind you. And we had already fought cannibals several times.
True.
So I ran straight forward, and some Weisenheimer had decided that it was a really great place to put a campfire right in the middle of like the walkway in front of the cabin. So I ran over it, and I had not run over a fire yet. So I didn't know whether it was one of those things where it like just caused you damage momentarily while you're on the fire, which makes sense.
Twice.
Because there was no indication at all that I was on fire, except you guys are yelling at me.
So
I'm on fire.
So here's the paint the picture.
The water, and it doesn't go out.
So here's the paint the picture. We're literally on a beach, right? There is a cabin on a beach. We're on the sand, and there's like woods that kind of go out from the beach, like going up a hill. And he's on fire, and I'm yelling at him like, just get in the water. Just get in the water. And he finally turns around and heads that way. And as he gets there, he does like a dead duck dive. And all I see is his butt sticking out in the air.
I just go head first into the surf, right at the edge of the water, on my knees, butt in the air. And of course, who's there to take a picture of this and send it out on tweet or all over social tubes out in the place, but Xycia?
No, actually, it was Secret Asian Man. So I will say on our Discord, on the SAS Gaming Discord, there's a picture posted.
Yeah.
And not to plug anything, but I do have a highlight video of the actual moment this happened. I have it on my Twitch, so if you want to check it out later, it's there. So I had to make sure to document that. But that was our game of the moment,
worth it.
And it was fun. The forest is great for it's a lot of like co-op kind of experience where you like other people experience. Definitely not a polished game. It's not a AAA game or by any means, but I'm not going to say that it's not fun. I've had a lot of fun hours on it, and it's something to check out if you're interested in building and crafting and chopping down trees. It's almost like Lumberjack Simulator at sometimes, but it depends on if you're into that kind of thing. So, is there anything else you played recently?
No, I've played a little Fall Guys again too. I suspect. For those that you don't know, that Fall Guys does have a major patch coming out. They're actually there's a new level coming in.
Oh, nice.
They're actually doing some of the other things with the patch, which is really cool, and it's very, very much needed because it really sucks when you're playing this game that you are working towards getting the crown, and all of a sudden you go into a team game, but there's only 9 people.
Yeah,
and you're like, come on, game. You knew there were 9 people when you decided to go into this level that's a team. So it's automatically 5 versus 4.
Yep.
Which
I ran
can
into that last
really
night, too.
throw it off. Yeah. So they're actually making some changes. One of the changes is going to be a solos mode, which is
nice.
Exactly the same, except for that there's going to be no team games in it at all.
Oh, I thought you meant like a solo, like I could play by myself and just learn the games. So.
No. We're not talking about solos in that way.
Yeah, okay.
We're talking about solo only games. So yeah, you're still doing the elimination just like you are. People calling it a battle royale are just wrong. It's not a battle royale.
I will fight. It's an esport. It's gonna be an esport now.
I think you're nuts.
I think
thinking that this is an esport.
There's fun elements. I'm not saying it's going to be an esport, but there's definitely fun elements about it.
No, you just did.
I mean,
you did last week too.
It's an esport. Hashtag esport Fall Guys. Oh man.
No, but yeah, it's pretty cool. But it is a wonderful game to sit down for 20-30 minutes and just unwind and have some fun with it. I think it's lacking way too many things to be an esport. They are going to have a season, by the way.
Right. They already kind of showed that since the beginning.
They have tons of FOMO. They've already got the FOMO going with like that's a fear of missing out for those that are not aware of that. Where they have like certain costumes that are only available this week, and you got to spend your in-game currency on that.
I bought a ninja suit last night.
Wait, you purchased some?
Oh, I got a ninja suit. Yeah, I have a top ninja suit that I put on last night.
So. Oh, okay. No, okay. You got a suit, but you didn't purchase any currency though, right?
No. I mean, I used the in-game currency to do it for winning. Got it.
Yeah, because I mean, we already paid for the game. I don't want to like if it was free to play, I would put some money into it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, and if you do, I mean, whatever. If you like the game, then you want to support them. That's
right.
Feel free.
If you get hours, like okay, I get it. We're in the middle of the Rona economy, and with the Rona economy, you don't like go out to the AMC theaters right now.
Sure.
I get that, but everybody remembers doing that, and like you and your significant other, or who else, like typically 2 people, or you can go by yourself. No shame in that. I've done it myself. You go out to the movie theater and get some popcorn, and you pay for your tickets
and the candy,
and you watch a movie. I mean, put the M&Ms into the popcorn because they won't all go down to the bottom. It's like magic. I don't know how it works, but no, you do all that, and like for 2 people, you're spending like nearly $50.
Oh, absolutely, $50 to $60. Just in the like. Usually, it's about $30 to $40 for us to get 2 drinks, popcorn. Like a large pop, because you got to get the refillable one, right? You got to have the one that you can just go back mid movie and take your intermission and go fill it up again. And my wife's an avid like popcorn eater. Like she loves popcorn. Doesn't matter. Like if we're watching a movie, there has to be popcorn. Period. Just has to be. That's how it is. That's just how it goes.
She is now my movie soulmate.
Yeah, I hear you.
We're fighting over that popcorn. No, but yeah, it's like for 2 hours of entertainment, you're spending $50 or $60 for 2 hours of entertainment. So when I spend $60 for a game and I get like 20, 30, 40 hours of entertainment out of it, that's totally worth it. I mean, I literally look at some of my entertainment based on how much I'd spend to go to the movies. Like, maybe once a month, unless you have some of the options that like allow you to go a little bit more often for a little bit cheaper. But yeah, and for Fall Guys was what, $20?
Yeah, it was like
if
$20
I remember correctly,
yeah.
on Steam. $20 on Steam.
$19.99,
and
I guess.
Yeah. So putting a little extra in to like have some fun and kind of personalize your little like minion ripoff is perfectly makes sense. And I'm not gonna. I'm certain. I don't feel the need to do that, but I'm certainly not going to shame anyone that does it because, hey, it's super cheap for the entertainment that you're getting out of it.
Oh yeah.
So.
Well, so that was what we played this week. We actually roll in typically to the news at this point, but I wanted to mention something that was really unique this week for me personally. Is so obviously Rona economy. Here we are. We're spending most of our time hopefully at home and trying to stay away, social distance, things like that. And one of the big things in my life that I typically do, me and my wife and friends of mine, is go to shows like concerts. And that's something that we obviously have been missing. And not even if we wanted to, like the concerts have been canceled. Like even the venues are struggling at this point because they just can't get anybody in. And what was
Except for
really
Fortnite.
Yeah. Well, that yeah. The really interesting part is that so Friday, I got an alert that one of my favorite bands, Between the Buried and Me, it's a progressive metal band. And classify them in a certain genre. I mean, don't sue me because they do a lot of things and they're very talented for what they do. But that was like their main type genre. But they announced they were doing a live concert this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So Friday night starting at 8:00, Saturday I think starting at 8:00, and I think Sunday was at like 3 p.m. or something like that. And it was really neat for me and a friend of mine to join a Zoom. And we joined early, so we joined at like 7:30. We got to get our beers from the bar and get our our show on, like talked a little bit about what we did, and then 8:00 like they started playing, and it was out of their basement, like one of the team member, the band members' basement. But of course they're a professional band, so they have all the professional equipment. Everything is like the quality is completely perfect. They did have like one little audio glitch. They had to restart the stream at one point, but I mean, hey. They're literally on Twitch streaming live in front of hear this out, 8,000 people. So they're playing typically in front of venues that have maybe, a couple thousand people. And that's like maxed out. The tickets are sold out. We're done. And they were playing in front of 8,000 people. I mean, this is numbers that are like insane. And then this is a band that, is very popular. It's a pretty popular band for the genre. And it was just great to be able to like experience that, especially now not having anything, being able to experience that live and then seeing, like my friend there with the Zoom and being able to just interact with that. It was just a really cool experience that I had to look into it, right? Because it's obviously something now that's like, I'm like, there has to be something, right? So actually looking into that, I found an article actually came back out. This was back in March. This is March 17th, St. Patty's Day. And it was about the same thing. It was about that bands are starting to stream. This is a Vice article. They're starting to stream their no crowded concerts on Twitch. And this article basically talks about a band called Code Orange. And they are basically playing. They're one of like Pittsburgh's like first hardcore bands, essentially, from what they're coined as. And typically they're playing in front of a couple 100,000 maybe, or a couple hundred or thousands of people a day for concerts. And because of the whole Twitch thing, they were performing in front of, I think it was, it was like almost 13,000 viewers. So they went from like hundreds to maybe 1,000 to 13,000 people watching them live. And talk about,
that definitely kind of makes sense because, I mean, if you're talking about I don't want to say smaller bands. I mean, if you're just talking about the people that aren't like the big huge bands that everybody hears about,
right.
but just certainly popular, like you said, but not like these mega big stars. I mean, because when they go to a geographic location, there's only going to be so many tickets they sell.
Right, because the venue, it's fire code, being safety, being the exclusivity, you want to be able to have it so not everybody can attend, quote unquote, because you want people to be there.
Yeah, and they choose those venues because they figure they can sell that many tickets. I mean, even if they chose the bigger venues, just because they're just not as well known, they're only going to draw so many people from a geographic location, right? But then when you take, we've said it before, hashtag Rona economy. If you take the geographic location out of it and just say, hey, it doesn't matter if you're in Seattle or Portland or LA or, New York, Boston, Atlanta, Nashville, whatever.
Mexico, UK, Australia, New Zealand, whatever.
Different states, Ireland, if you have heard of the band and you know what time they're going to be starting on Twitch, you can just show up and watch them. So it makes sense that they're actually being able to pull larger crowds. That's super cool. This is the first I've heard you talk about this, and it's interesting that somewhat recently I saw something similar. Me being slightly different musical tastes, that I saw that there's a reoccurring, I think it's like Pick Up the Mic or something like that on Twitch, where different DJs come in and basically spin sets,
right,
for like 2 hours or so, and they're guest DJs and they show up on the same Twitch channel.
Yep.
So it's really cool that if you're a follower of that channel, you can see these different DJs come in and spin, electronic or dance music or whatever that DJ, happens to spin, and, get like, again, an hour and a half, 2 hours of entertainment, and maybe be in that case, maybe be exposed to someone brand new that you didn't even know about.
Yeah.
And again, for them, bring in a bigger crowd than they would normally bring in at a physical location.
Yeah. I mean, and don't get me wrong, this isn't a music podcast. I do have history with music. I've been in bands growing up, and I've been in different scenarios where we're trying to play different venues and things like that. So I'm not trying to take it to that level, but the fact that, Twitch, for example, we talk about Twitch a lot, and we talked about also Twitch bringing in musicians because we talked about Logic recently. Mm-hmm. And for this, to me, as if I could go back in the time machine, right, my little time turner, I could flip it and I can go back. Like, as a band, like even a local band, like a local in the sense of like to the city of Atlanta, for example, being able to provide a show online to Twitch, to my fans, even if it is, 50 people instead of 30 people, because of restrictions or whatever it may be, that's 50 mm-hmm. people that are going to be depositing money into my subscriptions from Twitch. Yeah, I'm going to get a cut from Twitch. Like, they're going to give me money. But ultimately, I'm basically making more money because I'm not having to pay out a venue. I'm not having to, travel the gas to get there. I'm not having to, I can still buy merch and sell merch, and I can do all of that.
Yeah,
but
there you go.
From my home, merch. Or from my whatever location I'm streaming from. So I thought that was really interesting. And the other thing, too, because I looked into this a little bit more because I was like, man, this is like a crazy little niche that I didn't realize. And another article back from March, if you're familiar with Spotify, there's like an integration from Bands in Town. It's a website you can go to, and basically you sign up and you put in the band you like, and then they send you concert updates of like when they're going to be in town. And they've actually added a Twitch channel, and they've created the channel, and they've actually had live artists now that are going to be on their channel. And they've created like a whole calendar of like when bands are going to be there and things. So you can basically go to their channel and stream and just watch different shows. Unfortunately, right now it's just their channel, so it could be any genre, whatever genre is as popular at the time. So you're not going to get like a different genre. Like, you're not going to be able to pick rock and metal and hip hop, but at least there's something. And that's what I was looking for. I was like, man, is there some sort of listing of like these bands playing? Because I would love to do this again. I was looking for this week, and I'm like, can I do this on Friday? I want to be able to hang out again and just, it was super interesting, and I really enjoyed it. And I think it's a new thing that Twitch has realized recently with the whole musician thing, bringing that in, but also just for those bands, like on a band level, that's another avenue of just being able to just get your word out, get your sound out. And I would love to see this keep going in the future.
I love the fact that you just made a Zoom party about it too.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's perfect. You shouldn't apologize. It's perfectly fine to talk about this because this podcast is got our attention.
It definitely got my
It's
attention.
what got our attention. Yes, we mostly talk about gaming, but we bring up non-gaming topics too, because it's what got our attention with our short goldfish attention spans.
Yep. And with that, I guess we'll roll into the news. So I'll let you have this one. You can talk now.
Sure. Yeah. So, wow, this actually is kind of a callback to what we talked about last week, which was that, Stadia and Project xCloud and, NVIDIA's Game Now service, all of them are having problems. Even Steam, for that matter, had problems with Apple's iStore, because they're like, well, you can't have in-game purchases. You can't, have non-first party games in your thing, which is kind of interesting because they have Apple Arcade.
Right.
And while it doesn't have in-game purchases, it has a subscription, and similar to Project xCloud, Game Pass. And they're like, yeah, no first party games for you, but they don't have first party games only. In fact, I don't know Apple made any of those games that are on Apple Arcade. Right. So that was, last week's story about how that's kind of contentious, and kind of really unfair. How they've written in the requirements that they have for the Apple Store, the App Store. And so this week, not only this week, today, Apple has delisted Fortnite from the App Store because Epic, within Fortnite, had set up essentially a way to do microtransactions within it.
Which is not the first time that this game has done that, or any game has done that, really.
Right. But they did it within the Fortnite app, within the Apple Store, essentially, which is, to be fair, against their terms of service.
Right.
So, it is fair to say that, this is not something that Apple allows, and they're upfront about it. They say that. And Epic did this, and so they got delisted. You can still play Fortnite, at least for now, but you cannot go to the App Store and get Fortnite, free or otherwise.
Wow.
Which is
like one of the largest games ever. Like, let's talk about Epic being being Epic today because of Fortnite. Like, that is literally like the number one game that most anybody plays. I mean, really. United
States wise, from my understanding, there are some bigger games worldwide. Well, apparently Crossfire X is a bigger game overall, which was news to me.
Well, I knew PUBG was for a little bit because of the mobile. They had their own version in China and stuff. But
and PUBG is huge internationally. Yeah. It's huge internationally in the US. But no, it is a massive game. Epic is an $18 billion company.
Yeah, which we talked about last week too, which is insane.
Yeah. So Epic did not take this kindly. They have shot back already with a quick little short video, which is it's a take on the Apple 1984 commercial.
Oh my!
With the person running in and throwing the hammer at the screen. And it's just amazing. It's with Fortnite characters. It says 1980 Fortnite. It shows like this guy with an Apple head talking on the screen like Big Brother, hence 1984. It even has the date, August 13th, 2020. It is absolutely amazing. And on top of that, they have basically said, because Apple has blocked, and this is from a Polygon article, among many places that have broken this story.
Right, yeah.
This one's directly from Polygon, and this is them quoting Epic in their announcement that they made. Because Apple has blocked, their emphasis, your ability to update when Fortnite Chapter 2 Season 4 releases, you will not be able to play the new season on iOS. Make your voice heard with hashtag free Fortnite.
Talking about another protest, right?
Right.
Jeez.
So, I mean, that's a totally understandable response. Getting the hashtag out there, going to social media, dropping out that short video, but they're not stopping there. They actually filed legal suit against Apple about having a monopoly on their store.
Wait, what?
And
it's their store. I mean, I get that, but I mean,
well, no, but if you look back in the past, I mean, there was absolutely suits against Microsoft bundling in Internet Explorer with Windows. So it's very similar. And Microsoft had to make it so you could uninstall Internet Explorer.
Thank God.
And make it so that it was very easy to install other browsers. So this is not necessarily a new concept, even though it is, Microsoft's operating system, or in this case, Apple's, App Store. There's actually some merit behind this.
It's like that
I'm
meme.
Very curious.
It's like that meme where it shows Internet Explorer logo, and it's like, what is my purpose? And it's to download Chrome or Firefox or whatever.
Right. And Apple did say, there was a new payment system that was not reviewed or approved by Apple. And again, to be fair, they've always been upfront that you can't do this.
Right. And that's terms of service. I mean, that's something that they would go after anybody for that, really.
And they said they would return Fortnite to the App Store once the payment option was removed. Again, this is another Polygon article. And, like I said, Epic is looking to the court system for help in addressing what it calls Apple's monopolization of the industry. And it's not even asking for monetary damages. Instead, Epic wants the court to force Apple away from its anti-competitive restrictions. And I think that's the brilliant way to do it, because that's very much how the browsers, Firefox at the time, certainly Chrome as well, went after Microsoft, was the anti-competitive restrictions. That's the brilliant way to do it, where this lawsuit actually makes sense. It might actually make some traction here.
And that's what we were saying last week with this whole streaming platform. If Apple can just let it happen, everybody will be happy. So
but they won't get their cut. And that's the thing that stops them. That's why they don't want to do this. They want, it's not the only reason. It's well been known that Apple has a walled garden around their iPhone. They have tight restrictions of what goes in so that they can have a uniform experience for the users.
Right.
Even if that experience is that your iPhone slows down because your battery's gotten too old, and they put artificial restrictions on your CPU in the phone. Wait, I'm going off on a tangent there.
No,
Sorry. Listen, I think that's enough about Apple and monopolization, anti-competitive, whether it's true or not. Listen, you've been talking about music, and that's got my attention. I think we need to talk more about music.
That's interesting you say that. This wasn't already, written down. But actually, this article, this was all completely before knowing that that's the thing I was going to talk about and stuff. It was just something that was sent in after the fact. But so the next thing that was actually sent in by our roaming reporter, Tickle, was that there's a lot of things you don't realize when going into game making. And one of those is the sound effects and just getting the audio creation from all these different sound effects and creatures and things you have. And apparently since 2005, there's a company that's been they're called the Monster Factory, and they're based out of Canada. And they've been part of the audio creation for a concept of hundreds of creatures. And I'm talking about games like Shadow of Tomb Raider, Far Cry 5, Rainbow Six Siege, Resident Evil 7, Thief, Prince of Persia, Assassin's Creed, and a bunch of different other games on top of that. And this is actually a Newswire Canada article. And the factory's greatest weapon, the thing that they actually do to make all of these sound effects, is they hire female and male death metal singers. So don't get me wrong, I'm already sold on this because of death metal. And I don't know if you don't know me, I'm actually a pretty big metal fan. I like a lot of metal bands. I like a lot of hardcore. I mean, it's like I said, there's a lot of kind of stuff there. But so what they do is they actually bring in different artists from different bands, metal bands from Canada, and they have them reproduce organic sounds from screaming to grunting to just shrieking to. I mean, there's actually a video they posted on this article that you can go watch. It's on YouTube. It's called like the Zombie Horde, and it just has a video of them in the studio working together and like just all making these weird noises, and it's just really funny to see them, you know, using their talents in other places, because obviously like that's something that we have to get, and instead of making it or like synthetically, we're making it organically. The quote from Korean Cardinal, one of the members of the factory, is basically, in a world where video game and film companies strive to reach unparalleled levels of realism, the quality of the sounds we produce is still unmatched. Our talent pool, comprised of women and men, offer a sonic and textural diversity for all types of projects. So I thought this was really interesting, just for the fact that, you know, not only are bands out there, you know, performing, like I said, on Twitch now just to try to make money, like to try to do something to get more fans. Like, we literally have other avenues now. They're performing live, well, in a studio for video game tracks. Like, the sounds you've heard in the Shadow of the Tomb Raider, that is literally like someone screaming. Like, a death metal singer's band, like the singer is screaming like these sounds. Like, that's how they get that. It's organic. It's
I've got a video that I'm going to find for you, and I'll post it in our Discord. For those of you that are listening, you can check it out there. I'll post there. I want to say that it was one of Drew Scanlon's cloth map videos on the making of one of the Doom games, if I remember correctly. And I don't know if this guy was a death metal singer or not. He was a voice actor, and it was absolutely amazing. Like, the sounds he made for this demon, like the guy that was directing him and like, oh, I want you to do this, this, and this, was full Lord, damn near fell out of his seat and was just like, dropped the big old F-bomb, and like, and the guy contorted his face with his hands and made this. So no, I can totally believe it. That makes sense that, you know, seeing this voice actor do this, it totally makes sense to bring in, you know, these death metal singers to do something like that, especially for, you know, creature effects where you're looking for this harder edge.
Right. I mean, like, Left 4 Dead is the one that rings the bell for me the most in the video, that the Horde video they have posted on there, and because it's like a zombie horde, and it literally just sounds like Left 4 Dead. So I don't know if they couldn't say that, or if they want to just show like what they could do. But I mean, really, like, all of those sounds that you hear from like the grunting, like all of the growling and all of that is people. Like, people are actually doing that, and why not the people who are doing like death metal, who are already screaming and already growling? Like, that's what they do as a profession. I mean, that's literally what they do.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. But you know, kind of to move on, I think, especially, like, no, seriously, because we missed this last week. We fell down on the job. We did not do our job. So this week we got a little bit extra for the Cyberpunk 2070 weekly update with Xycia.
Well, thank you, Phoennix Nova. I appreciate that. So earlier this week, if you're not already familiar, Cyberpunk 2077 is a big deal, and it's coming November 19th. No plug or anything. We're not sponsored by them. It's just a game that we obviously are excited about. And I get more excited about every day that I watch this. And this week was like phenomenal, and I'll explain why in a second. But they've been putting out a series called Night City Wire episodes, and they had episode 2 this week, and they revealed a little bit more. And when I say revealed a little bit more, they're not I wouldn't say spoiling the game. They're giving us like just breadcrumbs, which is fine. I don't need to see the full game. No, I don't need to see all of it.
In fact, the first episode, they actually only showed scenes out of the prologue, which was like the first 1 or 2 missions that you do, almost tutorial missions.
Yeah.
So they're being very careful about spoilers, but at the same time trying to show you a lot about what's in store in the game without spoiling the game.
Right. So this week, I got to check it out while it was airing, and the one thing the one thing that hit me the hardest was the
you
fact
lost your shit.
I lost my shit. I literally like I OMG'd and I was a little fangirl at this point. But so on the same train of music, so one of my favorite bands that I grew up listening to and things, it's a band called Refused. And if you don't know who Refused are, they are basically a Sweden hardcore band that came out in like '94. And the story is quite long, but I'm not going to get into all of it. But basically, they came out in '94. They were similar to like Rage Against the Machine in the States. They had the same kind of message. They were very political, like, you know, about their message, about, you know, nobody could hold them down. They're going to be out there to, like, you know, change things, and very progressive in that sense. And they were the same style of music, same kind of like heavier guitars with a little bit of melodic sense there as well. And they had a rough upcoming. Like they basically came to the States, and the last show they actually played as they came to the States was in Atlanta, Georgia. They played a house show and were broken up like while mid song. They have a song, and excuse me for being frank, but their song was called "Refused Are Fucking Dead." Like, that's the song name. And as they're playing their own song, the cops come in and tear it down, like, this is over, and unplug them as they're singing this song. And that was the last show they ever played in the States. And it was, like, they were already having turmoil, like, having fights on the road because they just toured for the first time. This was, like, a crazy thing for them. And they got to Atlanta, and this happened, and it was like, that's it, we're done. They didn't speak to each other for, like, almost, I don't know, it was, like, 15 years, something like that. And, you know, like I said, trying not to make this too long, but it's, you know, whatever. So 2005, they announced Burning Heart Records, the company they were with. They released a DVD of their life story and say, you know, this is the footage. The people who made it were the guitar player and the singer. They don't speak. So they had to submit footage to each other by Burning Heart Records' desire, I guess. And they put this, like, DVD together of all the footage they had from all this time. So you get to see this, like, live. And then, yeah, it's crazy. So they do all this. They release a DVD, and this is about the time that I learned about them. In like 2006, I had Guitar Magazine, the Guitar World, coming into my house, and one of my favorite bands, Thrice, they had put out an article.
What's a magazine?
Guitar World? Yeah, exactly. What's a magazine?
No, what's a magazine?
Yeah. So one of my favorite bands, Thrice, the guitar player, Tepe Teranishi, he was like one of my biggest influences back in the music scene. And so they interviewed him about, you know, what influenced him, you know, and one of the bands was Fugazi, which I'm pretty familiar with as far as the punk scene. And the other band was Refused. And I had zero clue. I was like, who is this band Refused? I need to find out who they are because I need to know. And I wasn't, you know, I was definitely not displeased. Like, that was the most amazing thing I listened to, and for a few years. And this was like 10 years later. Like, they'd come out in 1994. This album came out in 1996, and this was like 2006. So I was like 10 years later. And I know this is long-winded, but literally the title of the album was called "The Shape of Punk to Come," which is very interesting because if you listen to that album from '96. It literally was the shape of punk to come. Like, they had hints of drum and bass, they had hints of house music, hints of like jazz, metal. I mean, they had everything covered. It was crazy. Actually, if you ever watched the movie Friday Night Lights, the intro song, or the song that they hear, I think, during the game, that's actually their song. And so you've heard it, you just didn't realize that was like a thing that you actually knew. So anyway, fast forward 2014 now, right? This band has been broken up for like 20 years at this point. And there's word that Lollapalooza in New York has two new headliners. One is Rage Against the Machine, and one is Refused. And I was like, I got to go to New York. I got to get in a plane. I got to drive. I got to figure it out. I got to get my shift covered. I'm going. Like, this is happening. And of course it didn't happen. I literally couldn't make it to New York. There was no feasible way for me to do that. But what they did announce after the fact is that they were actually going to have another full U.S. tour, like one more, as the band Refused. And I was like, all right, take my money. Guess where the first place they were playing was?
Where you happen to be living approximately?
Atlanta, Georgia. The last place they played a show ever. So obviously I went to that show, I bought tickets, and I will say one of the best shows I've ever been to. They played their album in full, like the same Shape of Punk to Come in full, and even after the fact, like I was talking to my brother and we had the audio track, basically the video track up, and he was kind of interested about like the way the music was played. He's like, that's sounds almost like the CD. So he pulled up the track, had the video with the audio, and played the audio over the video, and it lined up almost identically to their studio track. And this was live. They were playing this live. Like, that's the kind of musicianship that they are. And I don't know if you're not familiar with music, playing live is really tough because you always tend to speed things up. It's a natural habit. You're just playing music, you get excited, you tend to speed things up. I mean, look at Metallica. Like, try to listen to their songs live, and it's like way faster. And so with all of that being said, a politically charged band from Sweden finally getting their break 20 years later, essentially.
No, wait. And bring this back to Cyberpunk 2077.
Right. So they have actually partnered up with Project CD Red, and they're going to be in the game as the music for Keanu Reeves' character Samurai, as their band Samurai. Like, it's going to be the band, like, playing the music. So if you go on Spotify right now, you can actually check out the band Samurai, and it's all Refused. It's basically Refused tracks. And what they announced this live, and they had a video of...
Well, and what I thought was amazing, because, see, I knew none of the history of this at all.
Well, now you do.
Zero history. All I know is you were, like, hitting me up on Discord going nuts. And I was watching this, Night City Wire, which is these episodes that they're like letting us know about the game. And there's these guys talking, these musicians, Refused. And they're sitting there and they're talking and they're like, okay, like, we know how to be Refused. We know how to like write lyrics as Refused. We know how to do a song as Refused. And they said, but we didn't want to do that. We knew that we had to embody Johnny Silverhand, who is Keanu Reeves' character in Cyberpunk 2077. Yeah, see, no one had to notice until you said something. Johnny Silverhand says, and we wanted to embody him. We wanted to like sing like he was singing. We wanted to write lyrics like his band Samurai would have written the lyrics, and we wanted to play the music. And so they weren't just musicians here. They were literally almost becoming actors. Yeah, literally actors. They were becoming actors because they didn't want to be Refused here. They wanted to take on the persona of the band Samurai. And that's the other cool thing, like Xycia said here, was that not only have they, written and recorded and performed this music, but they've already released at least 3, if not 4 of the tracks out there so that people can start listening to this now on Spotify.
Well, I'll say, and the thing is with that too, like, part of the interview they said was, they were interviewing the singer and he was like, I don't know anything about the game. Like, I'm not really a big gamer. He was like, but like, what they told me is that, like, this is a politically charged band, and then obviously Cyberpunk, like, the whole aspect of Cyberpunk is like politically charged. There's always, and we've said that before, like the politically charged message, right? And he's like, as being Refused, like, that is the band, and he's like, he was excited that they came to him and their band to be the part of the music of this, because it's literally like in a Cyberpunk world, like, Refused would be that band. Like, they would be the ones on stage, screaming their message and like trying to understand, like, get people to understand and like feel, their message. And I thought that was really interesting, and I'm super pumped about Cyberpunk now, and that's not even the end of it. So there's,
you were pumped before this.
Oh man, I've been pumped all day. Apparently, I'm still pumped all week. It was great. So the other part,
like, my understanding, just so that everybody has it, Cyberpunk 2077 is set to release November 19th, last I checked.
Right.
As long as it doesn't get pushed back. Again,
because it already did happen once. But the other thing that they announced during this episode, I guess you could say, was some of the weapons they had. And some of the weapons they showed, like, if you've ever seen the movie Fifth Element, there's a weapon that...
Shut the front door.
Yeah, like, there's the weapon that... I can't remember his name right now. I just watched this the other day. But basically, the enemy has a weapon that is able to target someone, and then after you target once, you can shoot in any direction. Zorg. Where's the
Zorg?
Yeah,
Zorg.
But, like, you can target any direction you want, but the bullets will always go back to that person. Doesn't matter. It's like targeting. So they showed a clip of that basically in the game. They shot once and they shot somewhere else, and all the bullets come back raining back through and hit the character that they're shooting at. And that was just one of the many weapons they showed during this. I think you were excited about the shotgun.
No, actually, the shotgun was kind of what you saw. So they, one of the developers talked about some of his favorite weapons. He talked about one shotgun that was made out of like all steel and was like super heavy and weighed like a ton. It had like these what looked like electromagnets on the side that energized up. And he says, yeah, you can just shoot somebody right in half. But then he talked about like the other side of it, because that was that shotgun was called Carnage, and it was from because they're by weapon manufacturers, and the weapon manufacturer was like like I forgot the name, but it was basically the equivalent of like thrown together weapon, right? Called Carnage. But this other one was a very tech shotgun. It was actually it was the one that you saw where you could target them once and then shoot off in a different direction. The projectile still made it to your target, and it was an 8-barreled shotgun. They were stacked on top of each other, and this thing was insane looking.
Gary Oldman.
Besides
that's the actor that I was looking for that I just couldn't.
Yeah, Gary Oldman. Yeah. Emmanuel Zorgs is all I remember. There's more to his name, but I forgot what it is. IMDb failed me. They just have Zorg. But no, like, it's not just the weapons. Cyberpunk 2077 is an RPG.
That was another point that it was super exciting to hear.
But it's a first-person perspective, what looks like a shooter, but is an RPG. And they approach this differently than any other developer that I've seen, because instead of just being like, okay, you point in the general direction and you shoot and you roll some dice whether you hit or not, because that's usually how RPGs are. I mean, Fallout has a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Fallout, if you could be dead on accurate with your mouse, but you could still miss, or you could still like partially miss.
Even with the VAT system, you can still technically miss. It's just about your proficiencies.
Right. Yeah, it was all about like, these die rolls that were happening in the background, and they approached it differently, and it was very fascinating to listen to them. And I'm only going to get this partially correct, I'm sure, but they said, hey, we wanted to like have you have the ability to use your skills with the mouse and keyboard or controller, that like if you got the crosshair on the person, you're basically going to hit them. But to bring the RPG elements into it, which is the ability to get better at a skill and to increase your odds at certain things, what they said, instead of like putting that into whether you're going to hit or not, the RPG elements came into things like being able to draw your weapon out faster and be ready to shoot faster, or reload it faster as you went up in skill. Perhaps, and they didn't say this, but I'm suspecting that this is the case, that like when you're zoomed in, and naturally they have this like sway motion that kind of like emulates your muscles not being able to hold a gun 100% perfectly steady, especially when you're looking through a scope, right? You get that in lots of games where you have this sway. I could imagine that like when you purchase cybernetic implants or go up in level and stuff like that, that you could reduce that sway and be a lot more steady when you're trying to take these sniper shots and things like that. So that's one of the things that I kind of envisioned just listening to this guy talk about. Here's how we envisioned how to blend the RPG elements with the first-person shooter elements.
Yeah, and they also mentioned something along those lines too, which is very familiar with like in the Borderlands series, and it's the fact that not every weapon is the best weapon, right? There's a multitude of weapons out there, and each one could have a different level rating. So this may be a common weapon, an uncommon weapon, a rare weapon, a legendary weapon, and he was saying that even with those being said, there's apparently a lot of weapons out in the wild that you can just find and potentially probably craft. I'm sure there's gonna be some form of that somewhere. But also, depending on the person you come across, they may have a legendary weapon because it's their weapon. It's the person, the enemy that they had. Like maybe you could kill him or not, and maybe you can get the weapon or you don't get it.
And not something you can craft. Like that weapon only exists there, and they approach those differently too. Instead of like, okay, so yes, the higher the more rare the weapon is, they're increasing like the power of it so that it hits harder. So again, it's not rolling the dice whether you hit or not. It's just increasing the damage output.
Right.
But the legendaries add on top of that because they have like special abilities that other weapons don't have, whether it's bouncing the projectiles off of walls or similar to the fifth element aspect that you said, where once you lock on, it doesn't matter where you aim, it's still going to hit them. So you can kind of like shoot around corners.
Yeah. Just poke out there real quick.
Yeah, perhaps it penetrates shields, or perhaps it does an electrical discharge that knocks out cybernetics, which is going to be very important in this game. Not all of these things were things that were said during this video presentation, Night City Wire, but
it's the things we saw.
The things that were, it was things that they were said that you can envision these other things existing as well. Just taking this different approach to it, where they, again, blend the RPG with the first-person shooter.
Yeah, I think it's super awesome from what they're doing so far. Obviously, Project City Red we've talked about before. They're a super dedicated company that really takes their time when releasing video games, and they've already pushed this back once because they knew it just wasn't right.
Twice.
This is twice? I thought it was already once. I'm sorry.
Twice they delayed. They announced dates, and they delayed it twice, and hopefully it won't be delayed again. I'm looking forward to November 19th.
Right, which is speculation.
Because while this has been delayed twice, we've got more news of delays. That's right. Halo Infinite, which was billed as like possibly the last Halo because it might continue on and continue to evolve. Halo Evolved was the original one.
This is also came an article in from our roaming reporter Tickle. This was actually his article.
Yes. Yeah, Tickle sent this in. I also found this as well, but I'll give Tickle total credit for sending this in long before I found it.
We know at least he's a he. That's about as far as we know at this point.
Before they sent it in.
Well, they or he. I think it's a he.
No, so Microsoft and 343 Industries made the decision to delay the launch of Halo Infinite. The particular article that Tickle sent in was the one from The Verge. So that's one of the ones that I'm reading some of the quotes from. Halo was being looked forward to as one of the launch titles for the new Xbox Series X, or the Xbox Series, whatever your letter at the end of it might be, because there might be more than one. People were like, oh my God, that's one of the launch titles. Like, yeah, like that's what we want, launch titles, you know?
We gotta know what's
that's
going
always a big discussion. Whereas Microsoft has been very far away from that discussion, saying, oh, no, we have Game Pass and backwards compatibility. And when you get your Series X, not only are you going to get new titles like Cyberpunk 2077, which will have enhancements for the X versus the Series X versus the Xbox One X, like better textures and ray tracing and stuff like that. But you're going to have all these backwards compatible stuff that are going to also have improvements as well. And you're going to have thousands of titles that you can play day one. But that's fine. I mean, people are looking for those launch titles. And, Cyberpunk is thought to be one of those launch titles.
Which they've already said that they are going to support the previous version. Yeah, they're going to support PS4 and Xbox X or Series X or whatever they have now. Xbox One, I guess.
PS4 and PS5.
And but they'll also
Xbox One X and Xbox Series X.
Yeah, so it's they don't want to release it either. They can't say that they're a launch title, but that seems to be, like we said, the dates in the past. Like those days kind of similar, like similarly, like, you know, relate to those in the past.
But with that being a launch title, they ended up deciding to delay Halo. And this is a quote from The Verge, who is quoting essentially a tweet. Double quote. We have made the difficult decision to shift our release to 2021 to ensure that the team has adequate time to deliver the Halo experience that meets our vision. That's from Chris Lee, studio head for Halo Infinite. The decision to shift our release is the result of multiple factors that have contributed to development challenges, including the ongoing COVID-related #Rona economy. That's my insert. Impacts affecting us all this year. I want to acknowledge the hard work from our team at 343 Industries, who have remained committed to making a great game and finding solutions to development challenges. However, it is not sustainable for the well-being of our team. That was nice of them to put in there, because the recent year or so of people talking about crunch time and how it affects both the developers, the programmers, and their families. So that's, I mean, they're obviously trying to key in on that. So the well-being of our team or the overall success of the game to ship it this holiday. And that makes sense. I mean, people are like, oh yeah, you know, a lot of these people can work from home. And yes, that is to an extent. A lot of these big games, though, a lot of times they contract out their things like, you know, QA and just throwing bodies at it, playing the game and trying to find bugs. A lot of times it's contracted out. And a lot of times that's, you know, contract workers coming into a controlled environment that's within the studio, and not controlled as in like we're trying to control like, you know, what you see and you hear in the game. So we're like trying to, you know, keep you away from, you know, like things that are like devastating. But no, controlled is in they're controlling the code. They're not letting it get out. They're not sending it to someone's house. They're not letting the hardware out of the studio. You know, there's very valid concerns about if you have contract QA people sitting in their house and you're sending them this code for this unreleased game, which tons of people are looking for views on Twitch or Twitter or anything else like that, or for anywhere. Leaks. Exactly. So, you know, that's just one aspect of it. There's several aspects here, and there's, you know, it takes a village to make a game. Sorry. But no, it's more than just the studio that makes the game, and not all of it is easy to do in the current environment. It makes sense they're going to delay this. Now, of course, everybody's saying, oh my God, they're releasing an Xbox without a Halo. And, you know, that's been the reaction on the internet. And I'm like, so?
Yeah.
I don't know if people realize, but only the original Xbox had Halo as a launch title.
Right.
Ever so far. And it looks like it will continue to be ever. The Xbox released in 2001, and Halo, the first one, Halo Combat Evolved, released in 2001. You know, Halo 2 released in 2004, and it was 2005 that the Xbox 360 released. So it released a year after Halo 2. And Halo 3 didn't release until 2 years after the Xbox 360 in 2007.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people just, they compare Halo being a Microsoft product to the system, and that's what they remember in time. But that's not really necessarily the case.
Yeah. I mean, all the major Halos did not release, except for the first one, with a console release. The Xbox One came out in 2013. Halo 4 released again the year before it in 2012. You know, it's almost like they planned it. You know, Xbox One didn't even get a Halo until Halo the Master Chief Collection,
right?
Which was all the old Halos, until a year later in 2014. Halo 5 didn't release until 2015, 2 years after the Xbox One released. And a year before, the Xbox One S released. So, you know, this time, will it affect some of the sales this time? Absolutely. I mean, yes, there are absolutely people that are going to be upset about this, and it may affect their buying decision.
Right.
But
ultimately, though, probably not.
Ultimately, probably not, especially since Microsoft, especially this particular release, is not banking on. They're literally getting out of the console business because they're doing the service business. They're doing the opposite of what Sony's doing. Sony's like, you need a PlayStation 5. And if you want to play the best games, they're going to be on PlayStation 5. There's not going to be very much backwards compatibility, maybe a couple hundred games.
Right.
And that's not a quote. There'll be more than a couple hundred, I'm sure, eventually as they go down it. They're not ignoring backwards compatibility. But PlayStation 5 is saying, you want to play the best games, you play it on PlayStation 5. If you got a PlayStation 4 controller, sure, yeah, you can play that controller on a PlayStation 5, but only for PlayStation 4 games. You need a PlayStation 5 controller for PlayStation 5 games. And they're very much like PlayStation, because they're a hardware company, and they're focusing on the hardware. Microsoft is a software company, and they're focusing on the software. They're like, hey, we've released a new console, which is pretty, pardon our French, kick-ass. You've already blown the explicit one on this. I'm going to have to bleep your F-bomb out from earlier.
No way. That was a quote.
But no, they are releasing a new console, and they're saying, yeah, this is going to be the most powerful console, in their words. That's up for debate, obviously.
Right. Every year is a new console. It's always more powerful.
Yeah. But they are pretty comparable. Both the chips, both the CPUs and the GPUs are being produced by the same company. Believe me, they're going to be almost the same this time. But they're saying, hey, you can buy this and you're going to have a great experience on it. There's going to be ray tracing and all these cool whiz-bang stuff. Or you could just play it on your Xbox One X and it'll be fine. Or Xbox One S even. Or you can play it on PC. Almost all these games, because not all the games are coming to PC, and some of the games are PC exclusive for the Xbox Game Pass. They're not going to be on the consoles. But they are focusing on the software and the service as opposed to the hardware. So are they concerned that, delaying Halo is going to reduce the number of hardware sales? Well, I'm sure they're concerned a little bit, but I think that they understand that since they're focusing on software, that making sure that Halo, especially after some of the negative feedback that happened after they showed it recently, they're focusing on the software and making sure that this is going to be their best Halo yet. And delaying it in the long run probably is going to be a good idea.
Well, we've got a little glimmer of hope, actually. So there was a little bit of a leak sort of confirmed via a Verge article, but also kind of through a third-party reseller, I guess, that was on Amazon, I believe. So for the Xbox Series S.
Sure, if we want to jump over your article and jump right to that, we can.
Yep.
Sure, okay. No problem. So it was more than just an Amazon Amazon leak or articles. Essentially, people got their hands on the actual new Xbox controllers.
Yeah, like the box, like that it physically came in.
Not just the box it came in. They got their hands on the controllers because the controllers already got sent out to stores.
Yep.
And people got their hands on the box and actually opened up and saw the controller itself as well. And on the side of the controller, it confirmed that the second console that Xbox is going to release around the same time as the Series X is going to be the Series S, as in Sam, or Slim, as it's actually been used for like the 360S and the PlayStation, I think 2S or 3S, where they did the Slim console. And that was literally on the side of the box. It said Series S/X.
Exactly.
So we know that they're going to release the S, codenamed Lockhart. That's been the codename for a while.
Right.
In theory, it is going to be a console that uses the same CPU, identical CPU, identical SSD hard drive, so same speeds there, just a lower powered GPU, and like no ray tracing. So they're probably going to take out some of the higher end features like that,
which makes sense. I mean, it's not supposed to be the same console, so you're gonna sacrifice a little bit.
Yeah, it's meant to be, the console that you want to buy if you don't want to spend as much, but you still want to have some of that next gen type feeling about this, some of this 4K or at least near 4K gaming. So it did confirm that the Series S is going to be the name of the other console that was up until now known as codename Lockhart, but it goes further because how some of these people got their hands on these consoles, or excuse me, on these controllers, was that, well, allegedly, because I'm not going to say that this actually happened, but allegedly how some people got their hands on these controllers is that they actually stole them during some of the riots within Chicago and a couple other areas from game stores that had gotten them early.
Got them early as a stock, yeah. That happens a lot.
And there's a couple of things that are very important about this. Like, for instance, do not sell before November 6th, 2020. So they have a do not sell sticker on them.
Interesting.
Thus, people are postulating from this that the sell date for the new console is going to be November 6th, 2020. Or perhaps November 5th for a midnight release or something like that.
Right.
That is basically a Wednesday or, not on the wrong month. There we go. Excuse me. That is a Thursday or Friday, the 5th and 6th of November. It is also the first Thursday and Friday after election, because the election comes closer to the Tuesday. Tuesday being a normal date for releases. And for those that are unaware, Tuesday became a music and games and other industry release date based on the fact of when the ships hit the ports on both coasts and how they were able to use trucks and trains to distribute those goods countrywide.
Yeah.
So Tuesday became a very popular release date.
Well, we'll also have,
because everybody's like,
we'll also have Thursday news. So if obviously it drops on a Thursday, we will know about it.
We're going to be there.
Won't be there necessarily, but we'll be reporting on it for sure.
We'll be there one way or the other. We'll watch our Twitter during that news.
Yeah.
No. But we'll know long before then, because obviously they want to do pre-orders. So this is pretty solid evidence that this console is going to release, at least for the Xbox side, the Microsoft side of things, is going to release the 5th or 6th of November this year. Also, one of the other things that they saw, in addition to this, don't sell before this date, was they started seeing some warranty cards. And the warranty cards had expirations of November 6, 2021, which is very much in line for a 1-year warranty on a particular piece of hardware. So it's fascinating. I mean, and I'm smiling when I'm saying this because it's really interesting news. It also kind of sucks that again, allegedly, this information comes to us because people were rioting during or when they should be peaceful protesting instead.
Right, which a lot of people were doing, but there's always a bad apple.
Yeah, which gives a bad name for the people that are trying to peacefully protest for very good reasons, very necessary reasons. So it kind of sucks that this news comes from that source. I'm not exactly happy about that part of it.
I wouldn't be surprised if the date gets pushed on purpose, just because they're like, what?
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
Just because.
That's what happened to the Ford Bronco. We talked about the Ford Bronco earlier in one of our podcasts. And it was hilarious because when they were going to release the Ford Bronco was going to be on O.J. Simpson's birthday.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Who, of course, made a white Ford Bronco very famous as he led a police chase along the LA freeways. And Ford at first initially said they weren't going to change it. And then they wised up. I don't want to say capitulated, but they wised up and decided to change the release date of the Ford Bronco to a less controversial date. So I think you got a point there, Xycia. Because of this release, maybe they'll change the date. Maybe not, though, because that's a hard thing to coordinate with all the retailers that already have these boxes with stickers on them that say release don't sell before this date.
Yeah. So kind of going back to the Twitch realm, I know I kind of skipped over that, but it was kind of just, it was there. It was something that just needed to be together. I just pushed them together. I was the matchmaker on that one. So then
you shipped those articles.
Yeah, for sure. So I saw a headline this week that actually got my attention. It's actually a lot of, and it could be a lot of you. I'm a new father, right? A new father in the sense of like 5 months ago, less than 5 months ago. So this doesn't really affect me yet, but I could see this being a big deal, and it was something that I wanted to definitely cover. The articles was actually from,
you might think too.
Yeah, it was actually .esports.com, like DOT-esports.com. The headline article was family recovers most of $20,000 lost from son's secret Twitch account, or Twitch donations. So imagine this. Basically, your son or daughter finds your credit card, and online with Twitch being how easy it is to be able to subscribe and make donations and make, purchase bits and do all these different things, uses your credit card and basically charges up like your life savings. I'm talking about $20,000. So it's, I'm trying to see if I can find the quote here. It's the quote from the
mind-boggling.
From the mother.
While you're looking for that quote, I listened to a couple other popular gaming podcasts, and in one of them, there's at least two gentlemen that are fathers and have young children that are in the house and watch them game, and one of them, his son is very young. Mm-hmm. I mean, only 4 years old, and is learning to play Rocket League. and literally during one of the podcasts, he's like, "Oh, I gotta go," because he got a notification that there had been a purchase.
Oh man!
Because at 4, he can't read it. He can read a little bit, but he doesn't understand all. And he just literally is clicking buttons.
Yeah.
Until a purchase is made.
Right. So
he wants to play this level, and Trials was another thing. Like Trials, the motorcycle.
Oh, I loved that
stunt game.
That was a game that I was addicted to.
Yeah. And his kid was not even intentionally, just accidentally purchasing this stuff so that he could get the next level or get the hat. And it was super easy for him to do without even having to read it all that much.
Yeah, so the total amount was $19,870.94 is what the teen's mom discovered. And this is a teen we're talking about here, whether, they didn't really release that information of was he 13 or 19. But the charges were between, June 14th and June 30th. And she claimed this to be years of savings. I mean, literally $20,000. That's a car. I mean, that's a basic car. That is a lot of money. And these donations went to Twitch streamers, to all different sorts of Twitch streamers. I'm not going to get into the list of the people that apparently were donated to. But so the long story short here is that obviously she was distraught. She tried to reach out to Twitch, reach out to different credit card company and everything. And it wasn't easy. It was not an easy thing for her to do. So she contacted, actually she went to Reddit first. She posted on Reddit, was like, "Here's my story. Please help me." And people started kind of, and she obviously posted, it was deleted, and nobody knows who she is now. But
the collective AI of the internet for help.
Yeah, the Reddit police. So they gave her the information of who to contact and who to get with, but basically she was using the online features of chat, like trying to get someone just available to contact, just to be like, hey, like, here's my story, just plead your story. And she was trying to just get any of that happening, and she even claimed it to be like a nightmare at some point. And this is a significant amount of money. This is not like a couple $100 like that. Some stories we've talked, I don't know, we haven't talked about it, but I've talked to other people about it. But like the in-game purchases of apps, like just cell phone apps.
It's over a relatively short amount of time. Yeah. It isn't like she ignored this for years or something like that.
And her phone didn't, her bank didn't say anything to her about, $20,000 disappearing on her credit card. Like, that's also concerning, which I would definitely be looking into that. But it was very interesting to see that how quickly, for one, the money, like you said, can disappear. And then for two, that how long and how hard the effort was to get her money back. She said, this is a quote, hitting a brick wall with Twitch when trying to get her money back. So that was the most frustrating thing of all. That was the thing she said. And then with that, it's just, that could be any of us. That could be you, me, a friend of mine, whoever. Even if the teen is a teen, or even a kid, like you're saying, like somebody who's 4 years old just hitting buttons, Maybe I have the credit card information in there because I've also played games and I let him use my controller. And it's a very interesting thing to see. And ultimately she got her money back, which that's actually surprising to me. I'm actually surprised because that's just wild. But yeah, it's
I'm
just something to worry
not surprised at all that she hit a brick wall when she talked to Twitch. Not just because it's Twitch and they have been known to like their money.
Yeah.
On top of the fact that they're like providing money to their partners, a small percentage of what they're basically making. And the whole donation thing was something that they originally didn't do. That was something that, kind of grew organically, and that the streamers kind of like developed their own. And Twitch was like, oh, well, we want a piece of this, so we'll just make it easy for people to donate, so that we can take a slice off the top, on top of all the advertising that they're making from you. But yeah, it does not shock me at all that she hit a brick wall at Twitch, because Twitch is owned, at least nowadays, by Amazon.
Right.
And you're like, the guy who has basically the largest accumulation of wealth for one person is Jeff Bezos of Amazon. So you talk about people that like their money. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And also, speaking of Amazon, they actually announced that this week, announced on August 10th, so yeah, it was a couple days ago, that they're actually going to rebrand Twitch Prime. You're probably going, what? Why would you do that? Like, it's already a good thing, right? Well, they're actually going to... they're going to rebrand it as Prime Gaming. So instead of just being Twitch Prime, they're going to just name it as Prime Gaming. The reasoning behind what they said, the reasoning why they're wanting to do this, is because there's a lot of confusion apparently with a lot of people not realizing that they already have Twitch Prime because they're a Prime member. And so now they're going to change everything to just Prime Gaming, and that way you'll know that you already have that ability to get all of the free perks, because with Amazon Prime Gaming, or Amazon Prime or Prime Gaming now, the Twitch Prime benefits, you get a lot of different things like DLC content, you get certain games for free. There's just a lot of like content you can receive for just being a part of that. That's something that you already have, like Amazon Prime. You're already ordering subscriptions, so this is something they just give you as a bonus, and they're just going to try to mix that in.
Twitch Prime started around 2016, if I remember correctly, and I've gotten free games through it.
Yeah, but a lot of people just don't realize that, because they didn't realize
like
that's
5-10
a thing.
Games, yeah. So I think it's odd that they're moving away from the Twitch part of it, which is very synonymous with streaming games.
Yeah.
And they're focusing on the Prime side of it, which is very synonymous with getting free shipping from Amazon, which is what most people Sure, some people are used to Prime Video and getting some movies and stuff like that, but if people say Prime, I'm thinking Amazon Prime.
Yeah, can I get this package shipping, like in 2 days?
Yeah, I don't think about gaming. I think it's an odd shift in a different direction than I was kind of expecting.
So that's something we'll see. Like, obviously, they're changing the branding here in a little bit, so we'll see what happens with that. And with that being said, that's covered all of our major news articles, and we're going to go ahead and take a moment for our sponsors. So hang tight. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
And we're back. At this point, we want to talk about our shorts. Yeah, I stole it from you this time.
I see that.
Yeah. I want to jump in on something that, again, we talk a little bit more about than just gaming. We talk about gaming adjacent things. This was a very music heavy podcast this time, which for us at least, which was very awesome. And I want to kind of do a callback to some of the things that we talk about, some of the conventions. We talked about, how, PAX is doing, their online convention. We talked about Comic-Con at home, the San Diego Comic-Con to be specific, and some of the missteps that they might have taken. And we got news this week about how the New York City Comic-Con has, of course, decided to go digital. Hey, shocker there in the hashtag Rona economy. Yeah, everyone's
We're really selling that today. I'm going to start tagging that in the Twitter post.
Right? But, it's not a shocker that a convention's going to go digital. But they actually made the announcement that not only are they going to go digital, but they're going to do it with live YouTube panels. And That's what got my attention this time.
Right. Yeah, we talked about that before. That's something that we have already seen that's not necessarily the case in most places. And we were already wondering what PAX and like Dragon Con and these other other conventions are going to do. And sounds like they maybe got the memo.
Yeah. And, me personally, again, there's no surprise here. I've talked about in the past that I've attended PAX several times, so I have some interest around that. And what got my attention here is that they took, like you said, they got the memo. They said live YouTube panels. That's what we go to the conventions for, that interaction with these people, being able to go up to the mic and go, I'm Phoennix Nova from Detroit, and I want to know what your favorite color is, or whatever their question.
Yeah, or whatever. I mean, that's a question I'd like to know. Why not?
In episode 14, and you unlocked the safe, what was the combination of that safe? There's a Saturday Night Live callback for you. But no, they said, it sounds like they're going to try to address that. And this is an IGN article, and they quoted, New York City Comic-Con doesn't just stop because we can't do what we've done in the past. Instead, we look to the future. We may not be meeting in a queue hall each morning, but we're excited to join forces with our sister event, MCM Comic-Con in London, to bring you New York Comic-Con's Metaverse, our new online portal dedicated to delivering pop culture experiences right into your homes. New York City Comic-Con weekend, October 8th through 11th. I do think it's interesting that they said that they're going to work with their sister convention in London, very much like how PAX Online 2020 is combining the Seattle and the Australia one so that they can do round-the-clock panels, from the different sides of the earth there. Also, where I thought it was interesting is, so a little behind the scenes, typically it is not necessarily a particular company that is, it's not a New York City Comic-Con company. PAX isn't necessarily put on by Penny Arcade, which is where PAX kind of originated from. There's literally companies out there that their job is to do conventions, whether it's a convention on cars or, steel products and razor blades, or whether it's Comic-Cons or, video game expos. And it's interesting to see that they actually addressed this in this article and mentioned one of those companies. We can't thank you enough for how supportive and understanding you've all been as we've canceled nearly all of our Reed Pop events this year. Reed Pop is a subsidiary of a company that does conventions, and Reed Pop is the subsidiary that focuses on pop culture conventions.
Okay.
So they've been involved with this. Interestingly enough, Reed Pop is the company that does all of the PAX conventions. So personally, that gives me hope for PAX 2020 that we're going to have a little bit more live interaction as well. So that's my own thoughts here that we're putting into this news story, is that not only is New York City Comic-Con going to have live YouTube panels, but PAX, which has Twitch, which of course has its built-in IRC chat that's going down the side at all times. I suspect, just knowing that, since there's this relation of Reed Pop here, that we're also going to see in PAX live panels as well. That's my prediction. So we're going to see if that comes about.
I mean, that's what they need to do. Another prediction, and talking about prediction, we talked about Mixer in the past. Mixer got destroyed, disappeared, whatever you want to call it. Mixer is no longer. We had the top streamers we talked about was Dr. Disrespect. We talked about Ninja. And then the last person we haven't talked about has been Shroud. Where is Shroud going? Well, as of yesterday, Shroud posted to his Twitter account that he's returning home. And with that, the nice trailer, I mean, obviously he's an FPS. If you don't know who Shroud is like a robot, essentially, with first-person shooters. He is like super just above and beyond most people. A little bit thunder.
Well,
above and beyond most people.
He came from professional gaming before he was a streamer.
Right.
He was a professional gamer. He made money going to these competitions.
Yeah.
And then turned that into a streaming career.
So, Counter-Strike and all these different games like that, those are the games that he is like. Obviously, he plays everything else that's new, but those are the games that his bread and butter. That's where he got his ability, his fan base from. And so he announced this on Twitter, and he starts his first stream. It was actually, this was 2 days ago, I think yesterday. It was his first actual stream. And before even the stream started, while they were still waiting for him to actually start the stream, he had over 500,000 viewers waiting for him to play. Talk about numbers on Twitch. Talk about coming back. Talk about have a following. Like, you literally say you're going to be somewhere, and 500,000 people tune in to just see you, just be there for you. And with that, he's been actually playing. Yeah, he's been playing Valorant, which if you ever, if you're familiar with Counter-Strike series, looks very, very similar to like Counter-Strike, like Source, or even early like
more
1.6.
sci-fi.
Yeah, it's a little different, but the maps
sci-fi.
are very similar. It's like literally the same maps, I feel like, in the gameplay too. But either way, he's back on Twitch now. There has been no contract stated. He hasn't stated that he's actually signed a contract with Twitch. A lot of like what we've heard from Ninja, a lot of what we heard from Dr. Disrespect. Nobody's really signing any paperwork, but now the ball's in their court, so they're kind of just experiencing what they want to do and then, venturing out if needed.
They're just not talking about the paperwork. If he's talking about exclusive to Twitch, there's paperwork. There's got to be. And 500,000 viewers before he even starts streaming. I would consider us a rousing success if we got not 1%, but even 0.1% of that.
Right. Yeah, man. It's crazy.
I mean, if we started this show and had 500 viewers at the, as our show started, I would be floored. Much less 500,000. That boggles the mind. But again, he is one of the biggest live streamers. Ninja being the biggest live streamer, but one of the biggest live streamers in the world. And
that's for professional sport, not necessarily. He's not like Dr. Disrespect. He's not a personality that goes on there and just is over the top. He is literally playing the game. Yeah, he makes funny comments. He's funny. I mean, he's got some sort of personality, but he's
got a good personality.
He's just a really good guy at the game. I mean, that's just how it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally shifting gears. Going from that to like just control freak, or at least control the game. So this wonderful game came out, Control, which was very interesting universe with a lot of metaphysical in it, where you had like psychic powers. Essentially, you started your first day working for this bureau, this government agency that cataloged and, I wouldn't say controlled, all of these metaphysical objects, but very, very interesting universe. And your first day working for it, you actually become the director of the entire bureau.
Nice.
Which was amazing.
Talk about job security.
Super, super fun game from, everything I heard. I have not played it, to just be honest. Interestingly enough, going into the next gen of consoles, we hear about game after game after game that is getting like these free updates, these increased texture sizes, the better looking visuals, ray tracing, all this stuff that is like, if you're going to get the new console, you're going to get a better experience playing this game than if you did on the old console. And you're going to get it without having to buy the game again, without having to put down more money.
Nice.
And that's been a big draw. So, I hate to keep saying it, but Cyberpunk 2077 is very much like that. You buy it once. If you buy it for the PlayStation 4, you're going to get the free PlayStation 5 upgrade. If you buy it once for the Xbox One, you're going to get the free Xbox Series X or Series S upgrade. And there's other games like that. A lot of Xbox games are going to be doing that. And there's even some PlayStation 5, 4 or 5 games that are going to be doing that as well. So it's not all that surprising for a company to go out and say, hey, that's going to happen to our game too. We're going to jump on the bandwagon. And you're like, we want extra sales because if you buy it now, it's okay because you're going to get increased experience, graphics or visual definition or whatever when you get the new consoles. Whether you get the new consoles at launch or whether you get them a year after launch, doesn't matter. You get a free upgrade. It's Oprah with all the stuff underneath the seats. You get a card, you get a card, you get a car, you get a free upgrade. And that's been super awesome. Except it's a little bit more of a catch this time. Control is only going to give you the free next gen upgrade, according to the IGN article that I'm looking at. Only if you get the new Ultimate Edition that comes out, which is the original Control game, along with the add-ons and DLC that have been coming out, and one DLC that is still announced and coming out. If you have the original version, you're out of luck, and you don't get a free upgrade. And I mean, I can see both sides of it. I can see the side of the consumer going, I don't get this. It's the same game. It's the same engine. You're going to do these updates anyway. Why can't you roll these out to what I have? And then the other side of it, the developer side of it, which is, it's not the same engine anymore. We've had another year of development on this. It's literally an offshoot of that engine that, we wanted to do special things in this DLC. So we've done this new code that isn't in the original game. And it's just functionally a different product at this point. So I can kind of see both sides. I kind of land more on the side of the consumer of like, you're doing those updates anyway, that if someone downloaded the DLC, they would get, this new stuff. But I don't know. Seems kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, something sort of weird, I guess. So if you're ever familiar with playing any sort of, any type of game any kind of game, really, not even necessarily online, one of the newer aspects for adventure, survival, or even just action games, I guess you could say, is one of the things that's pretty neat is the ability to like use a lockpick. I know it seems very small, very minute per the game, but it's actually pretty neat because a lot of games have tried to do their own little take on how you break the puzzle, quote unquote, of how to unlock the locker, or in Fallout unlock the terminal, or in Watch Dogs you're trying to hack a terminal, and it's been one of those things that, you know, over time, I mean, throughout, even going back to like D&D, like having the ability to have an attribute of lockpicking, and you can, you know, roll the dice to see how well you do depending on the DM. If you have a good DM, he may work with you, but if not, then sorry. But that has always been one of those things that, you know, it's a very neat mechanic in most games, and it's one of those things that we kind of overlook. And what was happening, or what actually happened, is a tweet went out by was reported by Rock Paper Shotgun. This is actually a Polygon article. And the tweet basically said it would be cool to make a museum of fishing mechanics. Well, somebody took that and was like, you know what? It would actually be really neat if we could do a museum of lockpicking, of all the different games that we've had over time that have had different unique little mechanics that, you know, revolve around lockpicking. And it's like they said in this article, like much like spotting a waterfall. And every lock you encounter in a video game is a temptation. It's a locked box. Like even on Reddit, it's like always what's in the safe, right? Everybody wants to know what's in the safe.
I want to open it.
Yeah, it's just a matter of, you know, there's something behind there that's probably going to give you. And some games will just brutally just destroy you because you open it up, there's nothing there, and you waste a lockpick. But you know that there's something typically on the other side of that little safe, or that door, or whatever. And so what this guy's actually done, it's basically video game developer who's worked on Where the Water Tastes Like Wine, decided to create an industry love of this digital museum of just lockpicking from all these different types of games. And the best thing is you can download this right now. It's like I said, a Polygon article. You could probably Google it if you need to. And you can download this little module that you can play, and it goes through each basically recreated lockpicking scenario throughout games throughout history. So you can actually see like early stuff that just really is just bad. Still a cool neat idea.
Basic.
Yeah, very basic, all the way up to like your newer games like Skyrim, or even, you know, whatever. And so it's really neat to see that. I thought that was really neat that, you know, it's something we haven't seen before. I guess with the whole run economy hashtag, there's so much things that people are thinking about just being able to do things virtually now. Like the whole, you know, virtual reality thing has been a popular thing for a little bit, but now it's like we really need to be able to get out of our house without doing it. So why not better just been going to a museum and checking out lockpicks?
So how much is this?
It's free. You can literally go to the website, download it. I've already got it downloaded. I didn't get to have a chance to install it before the podcast today, which I tried, but I just didn't have time. But yeah, it's free. Download it. You pick. You can actually make a donation if you'd like. There's a spot to say make a donation of how much money, how much you want to pay for it. But if you don't want to, it's totally fine. You can download it, no problem. But it's just a neat little thing that we'll probably see more of in the future, of just different aspects. So
I'm totally gonna check this out. I love the lock picking. I think it was in the Elder Scrolls universe. I believe that's where it was. I love the lock picking in there, where you had the different tumblers and a little lock pick. Yeah, it's like Elder Scrolls Online has this, and you push the lock pick down, and when it starts to shake, you like lock it in, and if you get it in the right place, and you only have so much time to hit all the tumblers down. And there was like this aspect of skill to it, and in some ways was kind of similar to lock picking in real life. I've never locked picked, so that's kind of like. But I mean, it's got some concepts there.
I understand the concept.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to check that out, and I might have to like shoot them a couple bucks or so. I mean, that's certainly a little microtransaction that I could throw their ways.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of microtransactions, the whole concept of microtransactions, and this is, at this point, literally decades old concept, back to the first DLC, also in like the Elder Scrolls universe of the horse armor. one of the first DLCs on the Xbox 360. Microtransactions have come a long way. The concept of like, spending $1 or $2 for something extra in the game. Mm-hmm. And that $1 or $2, I don't know, times 536 million times tends to add up a little bit. Just for Call of Duty, per this GameStop article, GameSpot article. There's a difference there. GameSpot.
Yeah.
Call of Duty microtransactions helped Activision kind of, increase their profits. $536 million just for the Call of Duty microtransactions. We're not talking about anything in World of Warcraft, because Blizzard is part of the Activision world, or anything else. This is very specific to like Call of Duty Warzone, kind of the spinoff that was the free-to-play battle royale that they put into the Call of Duty universe. This all came from an earnings report that showed that Modern Warfare easily overtaking its predecessor Black Ops 4 well before Warzone even was announced. And then Warzone even on top of that. That's a pretty hefty chunk of change for just selling cosmetic items for a couple of bucks each to, the various people playing the games. That's... Well, with that, I'm surprised that they're going to sit there and increase some of these games to $70 instead of the $60 that they already are.
Well, that's not the only thing that's making money, too. So there's another article here, Polygon, again. It stated that they actually looked at the numbers, and because of this pandemic, our digital sales in gaming is up in record numbers. I mean, I'm talking like up 70%, up 50% sales of just digital downloads, because you know what? Guess what? Hashtag Rona Economy. We're all sitting at home, all wanting to spend money that we can't go out and do, as we've said before, like these concerts that we can't attend. And what are we doing? We're online, we're playing. And guess what? All the companies that are, don't get me wrong, I have a soft spot for all the companies like restaurants that are out there not even barely surviving, venues and all this, because like I used to be a part of that world, and it's been tough. And it's even tougher now, like where they're not having the ability to have people to come in to like sit at the restaurant, and people just aren't safe to do that. They don't feel right. And those people, it's very unfortunate for them, but not everyone is affected by this, because of this scenario, we have video game companies who are reporting 50 to 70% increases in their sales just because people are at home. They're spending more time at home in front of their computer, in front of their console, in front of their TV, with themselves, their distancing, SO or whoever, social distancing, and still hanging out with their friends online maybe, and still putting up like record-breaking numbers to all of the companies that are reporting all their sales. It's like literally like 49.8 million games sold on PS4 during April through June of last year, where this year there's 91 million games sold on PS4 between April and June. Like
with
crazy
51 numbers. Sony said that 51% of all games sold in PS4 in fiscal year 2020 were digital. Back to the social distancing, not people ordering discs, just over 50% now digital sales.
Yep. I saw a little meme or something. I can't remember where I saw it, but it was basically like, after this whole thing's over, can we still keep in place like the 6-foot rule? Like, I don't want you to be up right behind me during grocery shopping, because I'd rather just keep the 6-foot distance. And it's just funny.
Why not? I mean, after the Rona economy settles down, you got the flu, and you've got all these other things that are contracted
everything else
similarly.
That we're typically used to.
Keep away from me. Stop sneezing and coughing on me.
Yeah, just have respect for people. Oh man. So. This is the part where we cover the emails. I'm going to start sounding like I'm just a sad, like ASPCA
sad
commercial.
Trombone.
And we don't have any emails. I looked, I tried, I didn't see any. And I really hope eventually we'll get some, and I know it will. I know you guys will. I know one day you're going to unleash them on me, and we're going to have to just fight over who's going to play what. But the email address is goa@sassgaming.com. So that's goa@sassgaming.com. If you want your chance for us to read your email out loud, like I said, comments, questions, concerns, tell us you like us, tell us we're bad, tell us what we could do to make this better or worse for your sake. And
or just tell us your story.
Yeah, just tell us your story.
Tell us whatever you want to talk about. And you know what? If it's interesting to us, we're going to read it out loud.
And you can send it over too. Like I said, we have a roaming reporter who's kind of sending us news articles. And if that's something you want to do too, feel free to send us that email, there too. We don't have to necessarily read it out loud. We can try to put it in there and we can put your credit to who you are. And, so with that being said, make sure to, that's obviously what got our attention this week. So, if you're listening to the podcast, if you're watching us live on Twitch, we do this every Thursday night, 9 p.m. We start typically around roughly that time. We're usually broadcasting on my Twitch channel, Xycia, and then sometimes in the future, hopefully we'll get some double streaming going again with Phoennix Nova's channel. And, 9 o'clock. And if you like what you heard, you can always follow us up on Twitch. You can follow us on YouTube, which we have a SAS Gaming page now, has all of our uploaded videos. And then also our Twitter. So it's where you're going to probably find out the most current news information that we have. Plus, our SAS Gaming page has a little bit of information. They'll post like questions and some polls about what you're playing and things. So it's one of those things where we're just trying to reach out to you guys and really just trying to build a community. So we have a Discord. Make sure to subscribe to that. I said last week, we do have a website online. It's www.sassgaming.com, sassgaming.com. And it has all of our links currently with all of our stuff. So just click the button and just click them all, and you'll just love it because we're just gonna eat it up and it's be great. So with all of that being said, until next week, you guys have a great week. Be safe, and we'll talk to you next week. Take care.
See you next week, and hey, send us an email. Tell us what you've been playing too.
Yeah, for sure.
See ya.
Later.